Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. What is going on, guys? It's Saturday morning. This one might come out Sunday, but hey, what a time of the week it is. Shorty's a Monday to Friday kind of operator now with work, and Saturday mornings just hit a bit different with that. No breakfast this morning. I ate breakfast, but we normally go out for breakfast, and I have one of my outrageously overpriced acai bowls. Didn't get that, so it could be hitting slightly better, but does give me a chance to smash out a little video for you guys. And yeah, we're in the kitchen today, or the lounge room area. Normally in my bedroom, but that light from my window just hits brutally in the daytime whenever I do a video. So we're in the kitchen. But yeah, good first week at work. Oh, I'm tired. I'll tell you what, Shorty had some adjusting to do on the wake-up schedule. Like you guys might know, I was doing a bit more of an afternoon/evenings job before this one. This is a get to work at 8:30 job, and there's a little bit of a drive, so 7:10 the old alarm clock goes off at, and that's an adjustment. So today there was no alarm clock. It was like, Shorty, wake up whenever you want. And I woke up at 8:30. I was like, you bastard. I wanted a fucking at least a 9 in front of it. And then I just listened to the radio and fell back asleep for a bit. So it was just beautiful, just chilling out. So I hope you've had a relaxed and nice weekend. But yeah, going to get stuck into the Bulldogs here, and there's a few players to talk about. Final preview. It's been a bit of a task, but I've enjoyed doing them, and now we can really smash out any sort of content we would like to do. So I said this in the West Coast video as well, but if you've got any videos that you'd like to see or any ideas, let me know, because I can kind of open it up now as opposed to the real structured and scheduled club by club preview operation. So the Dogs have a few, as always, time stamped and got the tabs across the top there if you want to follow along. But would also like to hear how many Bulldogs you're starting. At the moment, I've only got one in my team, but there's quite a few to talk about. So let's get stuck into it. And I'm going to start with Marcus Bontempelli. And not going to spend much time on him because it's pretty straightforward. You can pick this bloke with a hell of a lot of confidence, you know. Look at those numbers. Last 4 years, he's been between 114 and 117 and had a 119 as well, which was outstanding. So I'm not going to really talk too much about it. He is a bloke that is a superstar of our game. In the prime of his career, that mid to late 20s, and you can just see he doesn't always need stacks of the ball to ton up. You know, 19 touches here, scores 101, 21, scores 100, 20 touches, scores 115. So, you know, we have different players that sometimes need 32, 33 to just get you 110. Bontempelli has huge amount of impact on the games with minimal touches. And look, when he does have big touches, 33, pumps out a 136. 27 and 136, a 34, 181. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, yeah, Bontempelli, you can pick him with confidence. I want to talk a bit more about Jack Macrae because he has been, I'd love to see the ownership on him. He's been super popular for us over the journey, but I wonder if a few of us are a bit gun-shy after last year. You know, he went back down to 115, which is nothing to sneeze at, mind you. But that is not what we wanted after 120-plus seasons the previous 4. The bloke doesn't seem to age. I mean, he's 28. He seems like he's just been pumping out huge numbers for ages. And I just wonder, my sense is that he's probably in less than 15% of sides. But let's have a look, because I don't feel like he's just a bit off the radar. So there you go, 18% of teams. Not much love for Callum Mills, but, you know, very interesting. Lachie Neale not getting a stack of love. It's interesting that so many are going Oliver over Neale. I mean, I'm one of them, but yeah, that's interesting. There you go. I would love to have a look at Macrae's numbers and dive into why they went down, 10 to 12 points per game, because I know he got pushed out sometimes onto a wing, so I just wonder if his tackle numbers went down or his contested possessions went a bit down on average. I guess he won slightly less of the footy. 3 possessions left on average. He was down a tackle per game. Clearance numbers largely the same. I wonder what your more advanced stats can tell us. Because some people picking him will be saying, well, there's no reason you can't go back to 120 plus. We've got Dunkley out of the way. His contested ball numbers, were slightly down. But yeah, there wasn't much. So, if you gave me the numbers, I wouldn't have thought they equated to a drop-off of 13 points per game. Pretty huge. But so there's upside potentially if you think Macrae can really grab a spot back in that centre bounce. Because I will just look slightly at his centre bounce numbers as well. I get the feeling they were probably down on average to, say, last year. Just the funny things Luke Beveridge sometimes does. So, average of 64%. And it wasn't drastic. He probably had a few more in the 50s. You'd probably like him to be more up around 70. And yeah, look, 77% centre bounce. And in 2020, he was 74. So slightly less centre bounce attendance. But yeah, I think you could look at Macrae and you could go, he could definitely average 120. And I'm getting him at a 115 price, a slight point of difference. So he's not in my team, but he's food for thought. Now, Tim English, how are we going for time here? Because I want to talk a bit about Timmy. Yeah, we can talk. Massive fan of Tim English. Massive fan. I think this is the year that he goes to the absolute top of the table in terms of the rucks. I think he'll be the #1 ruckman. That's a pretty big call, but I'm red hot on him. I think the discussion around Gordon Grundy is confusing. It's uncertain. Who knows how it's going to work. But English, he showed what he could do early in the year and then had a disrupted year with, I think it was concussion, but look at the way he started it. That 160 when he returned was ridiculous. And then probably the back half of the year just wasn't quite what we thought, but I just think he's going to take his game next level. I mean, 105 was already pretty solid. Like, if he just did the same as what he did last year for a full year, it'd be okay. It wouldn't be amazing, but you'd take it. But I could see him going 110 plus. He gets the footy like no other ruckman. I mean, we've seen rucks do it before, but right now, right in the game at the moment, it's sort of what Grundy used to do. He can have sort of 7-8 touches in a quarter, which is not what we are used to for a ruckman. And you got to look at that. 18 disposals per game on average is just awesome. He gets in there with a few tackles. His hit-out game is improving, and he can go forward and kick a goal. But I just love the way that he started to announce himself in the air around the ground, started to take a few bigger marks. And he just always looked a bit of a not-so-confident young guy in a big man's body. Last year, he started to look confident. He started to look like he belonged. He was always a bit out of favour with Beveridge at times, and he'd go to Steph Martin, the know what you're going to get factor from a big experienced guy. I think it's Timmy English's go now. He's the man. I think they'll share it a little bit, but it won't be anything like the impact we've seen on English over the journey. He's the main man, and I'm very happy and very comfortable to start him as my #1 ruck this year. But would love to hear your thoughts on how the ruck is panning out, because for me it's a race of 3 into 2, Marshall, English or Cameron. But yeah, the ruck is a very interesting topic, so I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts on that as well. Caleb Daniel I wanted to talk about as well, and he's a guy that is a bit on the nose in SuperCoach land because he let us down brutally last year. Now, up until last year, he'd produced 3 pretty solid seasons, particularly 2019 and 2020. 2021 wasn't as good, and I think a few of us probably thought, you know what, we're probably getting a bit of value here. He'll just get back to his mid to high 90s. Fantastic. But the emergence of Bailey Dale and Ed Richards even just really put him off his game, and I don't know what it was because the numbers didn't seem too bad. Look, he gets 25, only scores 66. I don't know what it was. I'll have a look at the numbers, but then he had games like, where was it? There was an absolute stinker. Yeah, he scored 60. There was a 65, a 71. It's just very un-Caleb-like Daniel numbers. But there is a bit of talk that he might play a little bit of midfield time. So doesn't always mean great things because we know what happened with Jaden Short, but there's a bit of a change up in the way the Dogs are lining up with, like I said, Richards and Dale. So what changed? Now, we saw him win slightly less of the footy, or even if we want to compare it, 2020 is hard to compare to because it was different length of game and stuff. Let's go 21 versus 22. Look at that. The numbers don't seem that different. But yet it was... And I guess it was only 4 points per game. Mate, let's compare 2022 to 2019. That's probably a bit easier. So a 99 average to an 89 average. So where did he lose 10 points? Well, he won 2 less possessions per game, 2 kicks per game. So I guess 2 effective kicks, it's nearly 10 points. I guess, he tackled less last year. About a game, or 1 per game. And then 2019 versus 22, not too much difference in these sort of numbers. His go is handball receive, effective kick, link up, take the kick out. So I think that's what killed him, is he wasn't always the kick out guy, and he just became less of the main man. Whenever we pick a halfback flanker, you want to be watching the footy and you go, every time my team repels the ball, they're going to be looking for this bloke. They're going to be looking for Daniel, like they look for Aaron Hall and used to look for Jake Lloyd and all that sort of stuff. You just get the sense that you can't see him on your screen, but he's going to come running by and get a handball receive. Or you just praying the opposition kicks a point and they miss and you go, beauty, my bloke's just going to grab a footy out of the bag and get an easy kick, run to that goal square. Boom. It's beautiful. It's easy. That got away from Caleb Daniel. He wasn't that main guy. Now, let's just have a little squeeze. Some articles. I haven't researched this one prior, but I remember hearing it on the radar. Caleb Daniel, fuck's sake. No, that's interesting. In the mix. Obviously Dunkley leaves a hole in that midfield. You got Treloar, who's a bit injured at the moment as well. Where did they mention Caleb Daniel? Caleb Daniel is another one. All-Australian small defender, of course, but he's got a little bit of niggle at the moment, but he spent a fair bit of match sim playing in the middle, so I think we'll see him playing inside a little bit more. On Daniel's pending part-time move in the midfield, Gablich added, I think it's a real sign of growth of Ed Richards. Yeah, that's right. This was on the radio. This is where I heard it. So, it's real interesting. Caleb Daniel, for me, he's a halfback flanker. So, just because he moves in the midfield doesn't always mean it's going to be better for him. But it could be. It always could be. It'll be great for his midfield, his tackle numbers and his contested numbers. So, we saw Jaden Short go in there with mixed results. He had some ripper games, but then also became a bit half-forward flankish. Look, at the moment, I'd be happy to leave Caleb Daniel alone until we see a practice match. Just makes me worried when their positions aren't defined. So that's the only thing. But look, if he does get back to those mid to high 90s, you're getting him at a real nice price. And Bailey Daniel, bloke I mentioned just before. Bailey Daniel. Bailey Dale. Nearly rolled a bit of Jared Healy with the, what do you say? Bailey Dale, Dale Bailey. He butchered it about 3 times. But like Bontempelli, I need to go back to bed. Like Bontempelli, I'm not going to spend too much time on him because it's a bit of a no-brainer. 95 and 102 basically the last 2 seasons. And he did everything that we just said Caleb Daniel wasn't doing as much of. He was taking the kick-ins. He was dashing out of defence, the occasional intercept mark. And he was a picture of consistency. He took the game on. Wouldn't have gone under 80 too often. So he actually didn't end the year very well. That's interesting. Had a 68 in round 21. And other than that, barely went under 85 aside from the 76. So, had some ripper games. And he's sort of more he doesn't have a massive ceiling, but he's always going to give you 90 or 110. So, he's probably a bit point of difference, I would imagine. Haven't checked his percentages, but I reckon he's not a bad option if you want to go someone a little bit different. He's not for me at the moment, but he's going to be running and gunning and doing some great things. Just finally, Josh Bruce. Real random one, but if we have a look, I was looking at this one before. So he's at 160k in the forward line, which I don't think we're ever going to entertain him as a forward. If you were that way inclined, you'd just go a Ben King or an Oscar Allen. But we know that key back can lend itself a bit more to some good scoring options. No one would have ever picked Paddy McCartan if he was playing forward, went back, and you just can find yourself getting intercept possessions just naturally, just like Darcy Moore did. And we know Bruce is a good mark, so you just never know. He could turn into a half-decent intercept marker. You know, I never would have thought Paddy McCartan would produce the sort of numbers he did at times, particularly early. But as you can see, Bruce looking to return to the back line, you know, the improvement of Jamara and a few other bits and pieces in their forward half. Darcy, where does he play? Does he play? You know, all that sort of stuff. So I just wonder, because we've never seen him score that well unless he's kicking 10 goals against North Melbourne. But if I just look at Paddy McCartan, it's just an example of, I always get worried of big lumbering key forwards coming back from an injury, but if you chuck them down back, it's just easier to get just the occasional easy kick when they switch the footy, or you just get an intercept possession when you don't normally. Look at the way he started. 70, 80, 61, 55. This isn't the evidence I was looking for. But I swear at some point he was, look, it's not the greatest first 6 rounds, okay, but then this is what I was thinking. I thought it was at the start of the year, but it wasn't. So he got subbed off, that's right. And when he returned with 94, 75, 85, 75, 95, they're solid numbers for a bloke that we got cheap as chips. So, and that's all you need to do. You just got to get a few marks, and you just never know. Keep an eye on him. I wouldn't really think he's a guy I would pick, but I think someone maybe put him in a comment one day, and I just thought, okay, it's worth thinking about. So just wanted to put him in there, see if it floats your boat. But let me know if I've missed anyone, because I know the Dogs bat pretty deep, so hopefully I got around to everyone. But that is a wrap on the previews, my friends. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you've checked them all out. If you haven't, feel free to have a look through the playlist or just scroll through my videos. Shorty's on TikTok as well. Trying to post a little bit more on Twitter also, because after chatting to DR, he mentioned that there's a bit of a different crowd that you can sort of get involved with there, which is cool. So also me and DR did a collab, which I hope you guys have seen. It's on his page, but won't be the last time we team up. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'll be back soon. Have a good weekend. Cheers, guys.